So let's talk a little about the game last night, and then we'll pivot once
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
on.
Check mine.
Not a ton to talk about
to me.
in the overall grand scheme. They were down 20-plus early. They made it close
27,
late.
I think, was the number.
27. Jason alluded to it earlier. Philadelphia stopped playing for a quarter and a half before they turned it back on. But are you guys disappointed with how the Cavs came out in this one, or did you kind of foresee a letdown knowing it's the last game before All-Star break? They get an extended period off. But it was a big game. I was disappointed with the start.
I was disappointed with the level of energy.
I was more than disappointed. I was pissed.
Because Philadelphia, this is the thing, Philadelphia, and I think Austin Carr said this in a postgame. He said they realized what it was for the seeding.
Yeah.
They understood that if they would have won that game, they had, the tiebreaker in their back pocket.
They would right now be tied for the 3.
Right.
But obviously, being 2-0 against them, they would have the tiebreakers. They'd be in the 3 seed today now.
And so they didn't come out and do what they needed to do. And I thought when JB said, "Hey guys, you got to give some pushback," I'm like, "Nah, it's more egregious than pushback. You got hit in the mouth. You got role players, the bench guys. Sometimes with the Cavs, they just roll out of bed where it's like they're not aggressive, they're kind of passive. And in the first quarter, when you got open 3 after open 3 after open 3, I don't know what they were doing defensively. I don't know if they're playing.
That was the problem.
It was tough to watch. And then you get back into the game, it's too late sometimes. And this is what they're gonna see in the playoffs. Every game will be like that.
That's
every
right.
team.
If you don't bring it every night.
Every game.
Well, what scares me is I think the matchup felt more like the first half matchup than the second half matchup because it was obvious Philly had come out in the third quarter and they were like, this is in the bag. At one point, the Cavs were down 63-35. There was a 28-point deficit.
That's not ideal.
Right before halftime. No, it was not ideal. Now, they got it to within 17 at the end of 3. And on 3 different occasions within the last 2.5 minutes, they got it to within 4. But at no point did I got excited with the comeback, and I thought, hey, well, let's see what's going to happen here. Mm-hmm. But I thought it was fool's gold because it was clear Philly was practicing the third and fourth quarter.
Yeah, I was on the UCSS text chain last night, texting through the game. Thank you to those of you who stuck in there with me. There were points where it just became story time. There was nothing to text about. So here's an old Cavs story about Danny Green, and here's an old Cavs story about Joel Embiid, because it wasn't much to look at.
I'm sure it was much more entertaining than the game.
Well, but here's the thing. So I came out here, right, and told you guys after they beat Boston twice, it doesn't mean anything about the postseason. So I can't now turn around and make a big deal about this because it's one game in the regular season. They got cooked. They didn't play well. The part, I guess, that I'm a little bit uncomfortable with is that it was on the road, and they just got absolutely ball batted again. And this is a young team struggling to play on the road. Yeah. And they got to figure it out. Like, they've got to figure that part out. You need a garbage can?
No, it was funny you said ball batted. I thought that was funny.
I was
you are a child.
I know.
Yeah, so are you.
You're probably still such a farts on fire.
I try not to look over there because I knew
I
when
have
I
never
heard it, I
sat
was
a fart on fire, but I do laugh when I fart.
But I mean, they came out incredibly flat. Obviously, they could. The Cavs had some open looks. They weren't going down from 3. They weren't getting out to the shooters defensively. And Philly, that is one team. If you don't get out to the shooters, they are going to cook you from 3, and that's what Philly did.
I will say, sometimes during the first part of that game, it was like Philly would come down there, buckets, 3-pointer, Tucker, all these other role guys, and then there would be Isaac Okoro left alone in the top of the corner.
Well, that's going to happen.
And I'm like, we're going to see a lot of this in the playoffs.
But his good play has gone off the cliff the last few games.
But you know what? This is where I'm really fascinated by Danny Green. We haven't had a chance to talk about it when I was in. We got Jim ready to go?
Yeah, I'm texting with him right now. He said he's coming on right now.
Okay. So real quick, I'm fascinated by the Danny Green thing. I don't know if he's got anything left or not. He's an absolutely perfect fit if he's got anything left, because he could be the Okoro replacement in that starting lineup.
I'm done with Okoro, by the way. Well, I'm done with him.
He went off the cliff again.
Every time he reels us back in with 3 or 4 good games, we're like, hey, so here's the real Okoro. No, the real Okoro is he's got a decent ceiling and a terrible floor, and you never know what you're going to get.
Well, here's what I worry about with him is if you remember Rodney Hood and Jordan Clarkson when they were here in that last year of the championship window, they just vanished during the postseason.
They did.
And Okoro is not nearly as accomplished as they are offensively. No. That's where I think Danny Green could Danny Green's exactly what you need in terms of 3 and D if he's got anything left. And it sounds like there's not a lot of teams out there who feel like Danny's got anything left. It was more of Danny didn't have a lot of options to
Right.
choose from. It is why he ended up here.
Yeah,
But-
unfortunately, the Cavs are not the choice if you have a lot of options.
No, they're not. But if they can wring anything out of him,
Yeah.
he could really be a nice piece for them and really fit into that spot that Okoro's holding now in the postseason.
So you think he may, by the end of the year, if he does have a little bit left, he could be moved to the starting lineup?
I think so. I mean, nobody's told me that. That's just my opinion. But I look at what Danny Green's accomplished in his career.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
think,
I mean, why not? If
Who's
he's
the better option at this point?
Right.
You know.
We don't have one.
right.
Boy, that-
Because Okoro, he drives me nuts.
And he may be cooked. Danny may be cooked.
Right.
2 or 3 weeks from now, we may be saying, they're
yeah,
nothing
he's not
left.
playing at all.
Yeah.
Especially
He may be
on
out
the
of
defensive
rotation.
end.
But yeah,
I don't know.
Okoro just has he played well, and now he's had a bunch of games where it's like he's out there. I know it's not just about stats, certainly, but like he'll play 32 minutes and has no stats.
Zero.
He doesn't rebound, he doesn't pass, he doesn't do anything.
So for me, what Okoro is, I think, it's one of those things where since he's not as good as at what we want him to be good at, we kind of inflate what he is kind of good at. So it's like when people talk about him
Yes.
defensively, they try to make it like he's like Ron Artest or
Yeah.
something. I'm like, bro, this dude ain't like, he not Pippen or nothing.
But that's where else I think Danny could really help Okoro because I mean Danny was a second round pick who was cut a few times. Okoro was a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
But that's where they want Okoro to get to is to the Danny Green, make an open corner 3 and defend your butt off. If you do that, you're going to play a long time in this league. You're going to make a lot of money. Isaac isn't there yet, but maybe Danny can help him get to that level.
Yeah.
Steve says we talk about Okoro like we talk about Anthony Schwartz. I think more of Okoro
No,
than Anthony Schwartz.
Okoro brings more to the party than Anthony Schwartz.
Yeah, like,
I'm not putting him in that category.
Anthony would drop the keg on the way into the
yes.
on the way into the Rager.
Anthony
All right.
Schwartz, a poor man, Isaac Okoro.